Hello, welcome to Unboxed God, where we detox from religion and discover the God who refuses to fit inside the boxes we were given. I'm Tolu Sarah Johnson, and here we explore who God really is beyond fear, beyond formulas, and beyond everything we were taught to perform. If you're hungry for a real relationship with Him, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. So, this is still continuation of the commandments of Jesus that we're currently going through, and this is in the theme of following. And the next commandment is take up your cross, commandment 30 overall, and the second in the theme of following. Take up your cross. A lot of people have heard of that terminology or of those sentences, of that sentence rather. And a lot of people ignore what take up your cross meant. And we keep thanking Jesus for his cross. Whereas Jesus said here clearly, you will have to take up your cross to be able to follow me genuinely, not religiously. Because the type of following we do today is a following that pleases us, that helps us to stay in the mindset of irresponsibility. We don't want to take any responsibility. We don't want to live for what we believe by carrying our cross, by taking responsibility by owning it, owning the responsibility. So this commandment says, take up your cross. And the Bible verse for this is Matthew 16, verse 24 to 26. So it says, then Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? That's so profound. What can anyone give in exchange for their soul? And I don't think that people meditate on that word where Jesus says, take up your cross, because whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves. People don't want to deny themselves today, or they want to deny themselves in a way that works for them, not in a way that works for Jesus, that works for God. And some commandments comfort you. Some of the commandments we've gone through, they comfort you. But this one confronts you. Take up your cross. It's not poetic language. It is not decorative Christianity. It is not metaphor for minor inconvenience. No. When Jesus spoke those words, his listeners knew exactly what a cross meant. It meant death. It meant surrender. It meant there was no turning back. But that's not how people see Christianity today. That's not how they see following God. Following God should be a lifestyle. That was what Steve Jobs said today when I was speaking to him from heaven. He said it should be a lifestyle. It should not be a religion. It should be who you are. Taking up your cross should be normal. Should be something that you partake in on a daily basis. And you can ask me, what does it mean to deny yourself? Because Jesus said to deny yourself is not to hate yourself. It is to dethrone yourself. Self, calm down. That is what denying yourself means. For the past 2.5 years, I've denied myself in a way that I've never done in my Christian journey. But you know what? It doesn't look like denial. Because I can see how Tolu is flourishing in the calling that God has called him to, because he has decided to dethrone self. There's so many times I'm not feeling like doing nothing. This commandment has really, really dragged for a while because I just don't feel like finishing it. But I've got to dethrone self to be here. And many things self-denial means religious discipline, praying at fixed hours, fasting on schedule, avoiding certain foods, performing rituals. But self-denial is not about punishing the body. It is about surrendering the throne. Most believers today have made Jesus their savior, but not Lord. And that frustrates Jesus. When you thank him for his cross always, and you fail to carry your own cross. They want forgiveness from him. They want heaven. They want blessing, but they do not want displacement. To deny yourself means your comfort is no longer supreme. Your ambition is no longer ultimate. Like I told you before, my ambition was different, and that ambition has had to be redefined. Your preferences are no longer absolute. Your reputation is no longer sacred. You move from what do I want to what does love require? What does Jesus require from me? What does God require from me? So self-denial is when love overrides ego. Yes. Recently, just came across about a man of God that we all knew as a man of God, and now quite popular, but now sent to hell because of self that was not able to override his ego, his pride. And that's what the church today is. It's full of bunch of fools that would rather allow their egos to override than their self, and misuse the talent, the giftings that God has given them. The cross has been misunderstood. When you look at ancient Israel, a condemned man carried his own cross beam to the place of execution. It was public, it was humiliating, it was final. So when Jesus says, take up your cross, he was not inviting you to religious devotion. He was inviting you to daily death. Because Paul later said, I die daily. Not physical, but to pride, to selfish desire, to image management, to world-centered living. I want you to look at this analogy, the throne room within. Imagine your heart as a throne room. There's only one chair in the center. Before you met Jesus, you sat there. After salvation, of course, many of us invite Jesus into the room, but they keep the chair. You ask Jesus for advice. You consult him occasionally. You pray for help, but you do not stand up. You're still there. Taking up your cross is standing up from the throne and saying, you rule, not my comfort. You rule, not my ambition. You rule, not my fear. This is self-denial. And it's an internal dethroning. Yes, you dethrone self to absolutely nothing. And you let Jesus be above whatever you might be thinking or you might be feeling. It's not about you. It's about the kingdom. A soldier that is going to an army, that is going to war rather, it's not about him. It's about the country he's fighting for. And there are guidelines, there are rules that needs to be followed. Because if you misstep, you might be killed. And part of it is you've already sold yourself to your country. That whatever happens, even if you die, you deny yourself. That's what a soldier does. But people don't see following Jesus as being in a war. where they need to choose how they're going to live their life. Because Jesus said, whoever desires to save his life will lose it. And that is the paradox that unsettles modern Christianity. To save your life means to build a life centered on preserving comfort, protecting image, accumulating security, avoiding sacrifice, extending youth, guiding possessions. It is possible to be religious and still be obsessed with saving your life. You can speak in tongues, preach powerfully, prophesy, perform miracles, and still live completely self-protective. But the life you protect becomes the life you lose, because what you refuse to surrender eventually controls you. Yes, those illusions of success that you fail to surrender. Because the world defines success as attractive spouse, large house, impressive career, stylish clothes, visible platform. Even Christians often measure success the same way. I used to as well, but every one of us considered Jesus as a failure. He did not overthrow Rome. Maybe that's why you think it's a failure. He did not build wealth when Jesus was here on earth. He confronted power structures. He died publicly. So you might think because he doesn't look impressive, why would you want to follow a failure in the first place? So the world may overlook a life of simplicity, a life of minimal possessions, a life of little visibility, a life of steady obedience. But heaven does. Heaven sees you. Jesus sees you. It sees everything. How you pour your heart into his kingdom, it sees you. So the real danger, what good is it to gain the world and yet forfeit your soul? The world is temporary. Your soul is eternal. You can gain admiration, wealth, followers, recognition, and still arrive before God spiritually empty. Your soul is not measured by income. It is measured by alignment. Yes, look at this, another analogy of the open hand and closed fist. Imagine two hands, one is tightly closed. It is gripping control. I used to be that. I like to be in control. Gripping money, gripping image, gripping comfort, gripping ambition. But that's the hand trying to save its life. The other hand is open. It receives with gratitude. It releases when led. It gives without fear. That is the hand that has taken up its cross. The closed fist feels safe, but it cannot receive. The open hand looks vulnerable, but it finds life. So taking up your cross daily, this is not dramatic martyrdom. It is quiet obedience. It is given when you would rather keep. It is serving when tired. It is forgiving when wounded. It is showing up when unseen. It is obeying when misunderstood. Loving when it costs you. It is choosing the spirit over the flesh repeatedly. It is saying yes to God's leading, yes to Jesus' leading, even when your first instinct is to say no. And here is the mystery. The more you surrender your life, the more you discover it. When you live for yourself, life feels anxious, fragile, defensive. But when you live for God, life feels purposeful, anchored, steady. You were not designed to preserve yourself. You were designed to pour yourself out. And in pouring out, you become full. Yes? So, the quiet question this commandment asks each day is, where am I protecting myself unnecessarily? Where am I clinging to control? What comfort am I unwilling to surrender? What will obedience cost me today? That is your cross, not a necklace with Jesus on the cross, not a slogan. It's a decision that is imprinted on your heart, that you carry everywhere with the consciousness of giving your all to Him. So as we close this commandment, taking up your cross is not about suffering for suffering's sake. It is about alignment. You can be religious and be suffering for suffering's sake. Are you aligned? You can fast 100,000 times as much as you want, but are you aligned to Him? It's about dethroning self and enthroning Christ. It is about living for eternity in a world obsessed with preservation. It's about trusting that the life you surrender is the life I will multiply. It's the life that Jesus will multiply. So lose your life for Him and you will finally find it. God bless you. See you in the next commandment.